Now, unless I'm mistaken, usually if you have colorize turned off, it'll maintain your polygroups. It doesn't seem to be doing that right now. I'll have to investigate that. But one thing I do know, let's go back to our object here. Let's go ahead and duplicate this off. And let's go into solo mode. Now for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit D for dynamic, and we'll go down here and we'll go ahead and crease. And we're going to go ahead and with dynamic, hit apply, and then we're going to go to geometry, Dynamesh. I was going to go and Dynamesh this here. And when I go to hit Dynamesh, would you like to freeze subdivision levels? I'm going to go ahead and hit no. So now this is all Dynameshed up. I'm going to hit Control W, make it all one polygroup, and I'm going to go ahead and polypaint this a little bit. So I'm going to go into my standard brush, turn on RGB, turn off Z-Add, and we'll select a red. We'll go to color, fill object, and then we'll select a blue, and we'll just go ahead and paint this tip blue here, just so we have some polypaint information. So now with that selected, what I'm going to do is hit B. We're going to go down to that brush we've been making, hold down Shift to snap this one, hit B, create insert mesh, append. So now you have a colorized one available. Go back to our head here. Now, in order for us to draw out this object with polypaint information, you're going to see it doesn't do anything by default. If we turn on colorize, it's still going to draw it with white. However, if we go to blue, it will draw blue. If we go to baby blue, it'll draw baby blue. However, we want this polypaint information. So we want to turn on colorize, turn off RGB, and now it'll draw out with our colorized object there. And like I mentioned before, we should be able to draw out, if with colorize off, I think we should be able to draw this one out with its polygroup information, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. Like I said before, I'll investigate that. Now, we might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but let's say you do have an insert mesh brush and you do want to preserve UVs. And the only reason I'm putting this here is because we were just talking about preserving polypaints, so we might as well just talk about this now. So if we go down here to our texture map, and we're going to say create, new from UV check, you're going to see this thing does indeed have UVs. It applies a texture on our object here. If we go to texture off, you can see it's going to disappear. We can turn texture on. We can change this texture out with whatever we'd like. So we can put in this rainbow texture here, and you can see we have this texture applied. So if you have an object that has UVs and even a texture you want applied, you can go here to texture, import, and you can grab whatever texture you want, bring it in, and then go into your texture map and select it in here. However, if we go out of edit mode, hit Control N to clear our canvas, and then we grab, say, a plane 3D. So we're going to drag out our plane 3D, go into edit mode, make a polymesh 3D. The first thing you need to do is make sure that this object has UVs. So if we go down here to our texture map, we say new from UV check, you're going to see this thing does indeed have UVs. It's got some overlapping stuff, but it should still work just fine. Let's go ahead and turn our texture off here. Let's go back to our object. And I'm going to go to the top here. I'm going to hit B, create insert mesh new. We'll go back to our plane. And for this texture area here, I can choose any texture. So if we choose this texture, and then we take our object here and we drag it out, you're going to see it's going to maintain our UVs, and whatever texture we have applied to the object we're dragging out is going to apply to our object here. So we can switch these out however we'd like, and it will update. So again, if you want a specific texture applied to this object and maintain its UVs, make sure your underlying object does have UVs, and also make sure you have your texture imported and applied in here. And now when you drag this out, it will retain its UVs and apply whatever texture you want to your object. Now, if you want to get rid of that plane, it's fairly simple. You can just hold down Control-Shift, isolate the plane, Control-Shift, drag to invert that, delete hidden, and there you go. You have your objects with UVs with your appropriate texture map applied in ZBrush.